This Christmas holiday marks the 4-year anniversary of what happened back at that cabin. It seems even longer than that, to be honest. But maybe that's because I've been dwelling on the memory of it for so long. On the one hand, the incident had inspired me to finally finish a new book, and I enjoyed a great deal of success. On the other hand, it was something that still haunts me and gives me nightmares to this day. My plan to spend Christmas alone at the retreat was a last-minute decision. I had been putting it off for the past year. So unsurprisingly, all of the cabins were fully booked. But I did manage to arrange a short stay at a caravan, which was about a mile away from the cabin where I had previously stayed, and although I did have some reservations about being out there again, I figured it was the best way to finally overcome my writer's blog. I had tried other retreats in the previous years, but there was nothing quite like that place. There was something about it, I felt drawn to it, and just after a few days of being back there, I found myself completely immersed, and had just finished wrapping up the second chapter of my new book. The caravan wasn't quite as cozy or as isolated as the cabin, and it didn't do a great job of keeping out the cold either. Anyway, I decided to take the rest of the day off and just relax and tune into the local radio station for a few hours. Before turning in for the night, I might have fallen asleep sooner had it not been for a strange announcement over the radio. Apparently, there had been numerous reports of mysterious lights being sighted in the night sky. I wasn't a big believer in UFOs, but I was curious, and since the skylight of the caravan was completely covered in snow and I couldn't see all that much from the windows, I decided to step outside to see if I could get a glimpse of the strange lights for myself. Snowfall from the previous night had blanketed the entire area with a fresh coat of snow and ice, but I didn't let the chill distract me too much. But it wasn't long before my attention to the night sky was eventually drawn closer to the horizon, and that's when everything I had feared about returning to their place had come true. It was the Snowman, just as I remembered him. It wasn't too late to walk away, but despite the appeal, it also meant being back at my noisy apartment with an unfinished book and, most importantly, no answers either. Why me? Why this place? And why was it happening again? I was afraid, but I still felt compelled to stay at the caravan. Perhaps things might be different this time around. Maybe somehow someone found out about my retreat and this was some kind of elaborate hoax. It was at that moment I made a choice. I wasn't going to let the Snowman drive me away, not this time. Perhaps I could finally put an end to the nightmares and the fear by facing up to it. After a few minutes of sitting at the table and collecting my thoughts, I peeked through the front window of the caravan. Maybe this time it was just a regular snowman. Wishful thinking, I know, but I decided to do my best and just ignore it, and tried to get some sleep. I'm not sure how long it took me to finally drift off, but something woke me up suddenly from a deep sleep. I already knew that feeling, of course, the same feeling that I got when I was inside that cabin, except it seemed like more than just something I was hearing. I felt it all around me. I had kept the radio on. But now there was just static and all I could hear was the cold storm outside. I began to wonder that maybe it was all just a dream. Just another nightmare. There wasn't a snowman outside. And I was just being paranoid. Because I was back at that place. But then I opened the curtains. The snowman was still there and had moved closer. It really was happening again and I had no idea how to stop it. I figured the best thing I could do was just try to ignore it. Just carry on as usual and pretend it's not there. So I sat back at the table and began to work on my book. However, it wasn't long before I realized that ignoring the situation was going to be a lot more difficult than I thought as I acknowledged the sound of snowballs hitting the caravan, which eventually escalated to what sounded like small stones being thrown at the windows. It was obvious that the snowman didn't like being ignored. So once again I approached the window and opened the curtains. But instead of the usual reaction, I found myself somewhat confused at what I saw. The snowman was missing a face, or perhaps now facing in the opposite direction. Either way, it was something that hadn't happened before, and I had a feeling I was in for a long night after another stretch of deep sleep. I woke up again. I still wasn't sure exactly what caused me to wake up so suddenly, but it was strong. Then I noticed something strange. The skylight was no longer covered in snow. Perhaps it was the wind, but I'd never seen the sky through it before. Then I felt a cold chill followed by something that genuinely gave me a scare. The caravan door was open initially. I thought I'd been robbed, but my belongings were still there. But some things definitely seemed out of place. And I no longer felt safe inside the caravan. As I went to close the door, I couldn't help sense that there was something unusual about the landscape. But it was hard to tell due to the heavy snowfall. It took me a while to work up the courage to open the curtains again. But with the benefit of hindsight, I braced myself for the worst. However, nothing could have prepared me for what I saw next. The snowman was gone, and for the first time that night I experienced relief, or but a hint of anxiety of not knowing where the snowman was or if he was still out there. I was still shaken up due to the apparent break-in and took the mere notion that the snowman was gone as an opportunity to leave the caravan and check into the nearby resort, which was only about a 10-minute walk away. However, after packing my things and stepping outside, the events of that night took a sinister turn. The resort was gone. There was no sign of anything on the horizon, not even the soft glow of distant lights, and that's when I realized the true gravity of what had happened. The caravan had been moved somehow without leaving any trace. I had no idea where I was or how far away I was from the resort. All I could see was a bland white landscape in every direction. And with the prospect of getting lost and freezing in the snow, I willingly returned to the caravan. It's been 3 days since I last saw the snowman, and as reassuring is that his supplies are running low and I have just enough gas to keep me going for a little while longer still trying to fathom how the caravan was moved. And how it was done without leaving any tracks in the snow. I pondered over the possibility that I may never escape. This place, all I can really hope for is that this story will help raise awareness of the hidden perils that lurk beyond the inherent dangers of being out there in the snow. It's not always the cold that gets us, there might be something out there hiding in plain sight, because wherever there's snow there can always be a snowman. Hello.